Greetings all, this is Dr. Berkeley, and the purpose of this video is to help you to understand how to navigate Blackboard. I know for many of you, you are returning to school after not being there for a while. You may have not used learning management systems at your previous schools as undergrads, or you might have used a different program. For example, you used Canvas instead of Blackboard. So my goal here is just to help you to understand how to work your way through Blackboard and the way we have the course shell set up so that you can more readily navigate the way that the course is laid out. So let's start with where you will land when you open up the course. This will be the opening page for you. It has a banner that says MBA 522, Decision Making in Organizations. And this is the opening place, and this is where all the announcements will be. So you can see here, it's an announcement page. And if you scroll down, these are some old announcements that I still have to screen out. But you can see that there's a whole bunch of different announcements that you will get. When I load an announcement in here, I also click a button that sends it to you automatically to your email, and it goes to your SIUE email. So it is important for you to know that we only send things to your SIUE email. So even if you don't like to use it, you need to use it for the purpose of your courses, because that's the only way that we as faculty can communicate with you about course requirements, things we need to update you on, those sorts of things. You might send me an email from your personal email, which is fine, and I can respond to that. But any official announcements and any official emails will come directly through Blackboard, and it'll be sent to your SIUE email. So make sure that you access that regularly, and also check the announcement page because it'll be in both locations. So the most important thing about navigating Blackboard is this left-hand menu over here. At the top, you'll see things like the course information, which includes these announcements, a getting started link, which I'll show you in a few seconds, the School of Business Academic Integrity module, which every student needs to take in this course, and a discussion board called Questions and Concerns, where you can throw out questions and concerns you have that are not person specific, like I'm getting a bad grade, can you help me? That's not something you necessarily want to share with the whole class, right? But if you have a general question about, I don't understand how to do this assignment, or I don't know where to find this, the Questions and Concerns portal is a way for you to post things in there. And other students can respond to it, or it gives me an opportunity to answer the question for you, because honestly, if you have a question, there's probably at least a few others that do as well. Scrolling down, then there's the course content area, which has the course content, which is where all the modules are, including the lectures and the readings and things like that. If we had a textbook for this class, it would be here in this link called Red Shelf. I'm actually going to shut this link, so you will not be able to see this once you go into this portal. But the Red Shelf is where, if there's a textbook associated with the class, you can access it there as an ebook. You will have group discussion boards. There will be 2 of them for the purpose of this class, but other classes might have 2 or 3. It depends on which version of the class we're actually working on, but this current version will have 2 discussion boards. And this is just hidden from you. These are just for my information, having background sources for master content for the discussion boards. Then we go down here and you'll have your own course tools where you can send an email, you can access your grades for the class, and if there are Zoom meetings and Zoom recordings, I can link them here. I plan to have office hours for people to come and interact with me if they have any questions or concerns, or just to touch base and say hello. And I will make announcements about that starting on Monday of next week, so that you know when the meetings and the office hours will be. The email, I caution you, you can send an email out here, but that doesn't always allow people to reply to all. So let's say you want to send an email to your team, or you click on it and you send an email to a few people. It's a really awkward system. So while I'm leaving the link there for you, your best bet is to simply go into your Outlook email, your SIUE email, and send me an email from there. Or you can certainly put it in the questions and concerns if it's a more general question, as I said before. And then there's a whole bunch of other resources available for you here. IT help and resources, library resources, student success coaches, online tips for students. Anything below this that you see here is really just my stuff. So don't worry about it. You're not going to see that part of it. You will see everything from online tips for students all the way up here to the top. So with that, let's actually go into getting started, because that is right now the place where you need to be before the course shell actively opens. So we'll click on getting started, and this video that I'm recording now will replace this one here because it's a little outdated. So the video will be here. Obviously, you should be reading it and listening to it. Then here is a short video on how you can find feedback and turn it in. A lot of students say, I don't see the feedback. I didn't understand why I did bad on a certain part of the assignment. This video here helps you to understand how to access the feedback and turn it in so you can read the feedback and improve on assignments for the future. Then we have a getting started checklist. Obviously, they want you to watch the About This Course video, which I am in the middle of recording now. Read the syllabus, which I will show you where that is located in a few moments. Read and verify that you have all the minimum technical requirements for your computers and things like that. Make sure you understand the policies, the online tools, learning how to navigate, which again, part of this video is helping you to navigate that. Check the announcements on a regular basis. Every time you get to class, that's the first place you should go to make sure you're up to date on whatever is going on in the class. And then we want you to start with the week 0 and portal to do your academic integrity module, and also engage in the action plan if you lose your internet. So if you have an internet crash at your home for some reason, or you lose internet service for some reason, and that's just specific to you. You still are responsible for making sure assignments get done. So what is your backup plan if you can't get the work done? So make sure you are aware of that. Then we have the MBA program learning goals. So and these are the 7 basic goals of the program that all the courses in our program are trying to achieve. I, of course, am not going to accomplish all of these learning goals in this specific class. We have several that we are responsible for, primarily generating and evaluating alternative courses of action, discerning and appreciating the ethical implications of decisions, and then the dynamics of managing people and process. We are actually going to be doing a little bit on making sure people can work in teams together and things like that. So this About the Course video is just a brief, here's what you need to know about the class and what's in it. So review that. Here's our course learning objectives, which tells you where the modules are that are cover those particular topics. Then we have our course syllabus right here. It says MBA 522 syllabus for summer 1. You can click on that directly, or I believe you should be able to click on that to download. And this gives you some accessibility in alternate formats if you have problems with vision and things like that. We don't have a textbook, as I said, so the next thing you see in this portal is the Harvard course pack, where you access the materials for the cases that we'll use in the class. Students are responsible for paying for this, so make sure that you are ready to pay for that $34.05 to access that. You need to buy it immediately. So as you get this link, I need you to purchase the course pack immediately, because we are using it week 1. And you need to have access to the simulation that's in week 1 to make sure that you can utilize it. So there's you can click on the links to get to it. Here's also the link here if you need to access it as well. So if you have any problems with that, I actually don't know how to help you to navigate Harvard. You would have to call Harvard directly yourself to tell them why you're having a problem accessing, or how to get access to it in some way. The Ethic Games Ethical Lens is another assignment that you'll be doing in the class. This is the link to the course code. The school pays for this, actually. So all you need to do is go in, put in that course code to the link that they provide you in this document here, and that gets you to where you need to be. Red Shelf, as I said, if we had a digital book for the class, you would access it here, but you don't need to do that since we don't have a textbook for this term. We're experimenting with that. Here's how you can access the School of Business Academic Integrity module, which is teaching you about what it means to engage in academic integrity in the classroom and in your homework and things like that. You're not allowed to use Chegg and other outside sources to do your homework for you. We do plagiarism checks in the class. We do all sorts of artificial intelligence checks through Turnitin. It gauges whether or not you've engaged in some sort of plagiarism. So it will flag things if it thinks that you are engaged in plagiarism. And it's usually fairly accurate. The artificial intelligence, but usually we can tell by reading a document from a student if it's been done in AI or whether or not they've actually made the effort to create the assignment themselves. We can tell the difference on that. So just be forewarned, but this gives you the highlights about what we expect from you regarding academic integrity. And you must complete the module and then the quiz afterwards with at least 80% success rate with the final quiz. And once you do that and you pass, you will be given an option to download a certificate of completion, which you should download and hold in a safe place on your computer because you may be asked to submit that for other classes. And so you have to update it once a year. So if you are in the program longer than a year, you'll probably need to take it again before you exit the program. And so the goal is just making sure you understand all the nuances of what is and isn't plagiarism, what you can and cannot do. And then once you submit that certificate into a assignment portal, which I'll show you in a few minutes, you will then have to wait for me to look at the certificate and approve it before you can get access to the class. So don't get antsy if you submitted it and suddenly you can't get in, because you won't be able to. You won't be able to actually access it until I go in and look at it and approve their certificate. So that may take up to 24 to 48 hours, depending on what's going on. Usually I get it done same day, but I just need you to be forewarned that it won't happen instantaneously. Then down here, you will see a list of who the faculty members are. This is me, it's my little bio. And then depending on who is the facilitator for the class, you will have different faces here that will share with you who is the person who's helping me manage the class. They are also available to answer questions for you. Kristen will not be working with us right now, nor will Austin. Right now it's going to be Mary Jean or MJ Grody. And she is a former graduate of the program, as are all of the people, actually. Austin and Kristen and MJ have all graduated from our MBA program. And MJ used to be a coach for the women's basketball team. So she's a lot of fun and she's really bright and she's more than happy to answer your questions for sure. Here's just another link to that questions and concerns portal. And I'm actually going to click on it here to show you what that looks like. And so I would encourage you to click a button here that says subscribe. So if a message comes through, you will get pinged in your email that somebody put something in the questions and concerns portal. Maybe you can answer it, or maybe you have the same question, but it's helpful for you to be able to stay on top of those sorts of things as questions come up from other students. And then you just hit create thread and it creates your own questions and concerns issue and post in there. So I'm going to click back on getting started over here in the left-hand menu and scroll back down so that we can see where we're at. The last couple of things, there's some, technical requirements and policies and things as we talked about, but this here, resources for APA format, we ask you to use the reference and citation guidelines for APA. Not every paper lends itself to a formal research paper format like you see in APA. So I don't want you to worry about that. You can oftentimes in some of the assignments, you can put bulleted lists to answer the questions. And I highly recommend that because this way you make sure that you are addressing all the points that are in the assignment. So point 1 says do this, then you put point 1 and then you answer the question. You put point 2 and you answer that question. And it's a check and balance for you to make sure you crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's to get the work done. But there's a number of links here available for you if you don't know how to do citations, to click here and to see how to do the citations. There are two major requirements for every assignment you do, including discussion boards, which is you must make sure that you reference when you are using material from a source directly or even indirectly. Like you can say, according to robinberkeley.com, you know, this is an important issue that we should think about in the, you know, making decisions, whatever that might be. And so you need to know how to do that proper in-text citation. So you have to do in-text citations referencing, right, like you would a footnote, right, in other formats. You have a certain format you use in APA to do that. And then making sure you've got the reference list that includes all of the in-text citations that you use. So I have the full blown out resource. And this way, if I have to go in and find that resource, if I don't trust the resource for whatever reason, I can find it and verify that it's an actual resource. So just make sure that you look at that and use that. Obviously, MJ and I are both happy to help you with understanding how to use the APA formatting. This is usually fairly straightforward. Purdue OWL is really easy. You could do a lot of copying and pasting from what they do and just, you know, model your entries against that. And if you're not sure, just send me an email. I'm more than happy to respond to that. So that is all that's in the getting started. Now I will tell you, until the class opens formally on Monday morning, this is what you've got. You get into the getting started link and you're going to take care of all the little things that are on that, you know, getting started checklist, and make sure you get in and get your academic integrity module ready to go. And that's it. There's nothing else you can do until the course opens, because we need to have a level playing field for everybody. We might have people that get added to the course at the last minute. We don't want them to feel like they are at a disadvantage. So as the course shell opens on Monday morning, you'll have access to everything. And then you just have to upload your certificate and move forward once I get everything approved so that you can do the material. So let me scroll back up here to go back to the main menu up here on the left. So I showed you announcements. We showed you getting started. The School of Business Academic Integrity module, you'll come to this page here. You will see this link here to the module, the learning module. You'll click on that. That brings you into the, here we go. This brings you into the course itself that we've developed for you. And then once you are done with that, let me get this down here. Then you can close that up. And you get back here into this portal again. Here is the quiz that you need to take. You need to do that, and you have to pass that, like I said, with 80%. And then you will be given the opportunity to download a certificate that will look roughly like this, with obviously not with the blurs. You have an option to save as a PDF. So save it as a PDF on your computer, whatever program you use. I use a Mac, other people use Word, but you should have an option when you get the document open to save it as a PDF. Be careful of saving it as an RTF or saving it as a document. Sometimes it just doesn't save well, but just be mindful and make sure that when you download it, that you can reopen it and you can actually see what it has downloaded. Because a lot of times I've had students that upload things into the portal and I can't read it at all. So I don't want to link to the quiz itself, because sometimes that's what it generates. I need you to actually have a hard copy certificate. The worst case scenario, take a screenshot of it and save it that way as a picture, because you can upload a picture as well. That's not a problem. But the most important thing is making sure you download it and save it, so that you have access to this for other classes, because there are other faculty that will ask you periodically throughout the course to make sure that you've done it, to verify it, that it's been taken care of. So that's the important thing there. All right, let's go back to our regular course shell. Maybe I can't. There we go, back to that. All right, so we looked at that, and then I already showed you the questions and concerns portal. Going down into course content, you won't see all of this material here because this is all, from my point of view, loaded behind the scenes. When you go into this section, the first thing you're going to see is the due date grid that'll be at the top here. You can always download the due date grid here. It's in an Excel file. but this gives you the assignments that are due and when they are due. Now, I am probably the only professor in the school that does this, so take it for what it's worth. We have a soft deadline and a hard deadline when it comes to assignments. Why is that? Well, largely because I know for many of you, this is your first foray back to school in a few years. You're all working adults, or should mostly be working adults. You're juggling a lot of different priorities, and it's very challenging sometimes to manage a workload and family life and schoolwork and all that kind of stuff. So for me, since I know for many of you, this is your first class in the program, I want you to have an easy way to kind of get up to speed and get used to the work that you need to do on a regular basis. So what this means is everything should be due the end of the week that you have to have it done. For example, your first set of assignments are due on May 12th, but I give you a grace period. So I encourage you not to work to May 19th, but let's say it takes you till May 14th to finish an assignment. That's not a problem. Don't worry about it, because then you're done. You've got a little bit of a grace period in there, because you never know when a last minute project gets thrown at you, or an unforeseen circumstance happens at home that you need to juggle. So I give you that grace period to help you to learn how to manage your work and stay on track. I will not let you get behind by more than a week. That's why I have a hard deadline of 1 week after the soft deadline. And otherwise, if you don't finish it, then you'll get a 0. That doesn't mean you can't move forward in the class. It just means you get a 0 for that assignment, which of course can be detrimental depending on the assignment. But our goal here is not to make it punishable for you, but really for you to recognize that hey, things are hard and we have to juggle sometimes different priorities. So don't work though in that grace period if you can avoid it, because what will happen, as you'll notice in this last couple of weeks of the class, when portals 5 and 6 open, portals 5 and 6 will open simultaneously for you. So you have a couple of weeks to finish that material up. But we have a hard deadline. There's no soft deadline for the final week, because everything has to be done by Monday, June 17th for the class. So if you wait and you work in the grace period, and you're already going to be behind, and you're going to be not able to finish that last week of assignments during that last week of class. So work very hard to stay on track with these soft due dates. All right, because if you don't do that, you're gonna start to fall behind. This is not meant for you to say, oh, I can take 2 weeks to do everything. This is meant to be a safety net in case an emergency happens. We encourage you to stay on track with doing these things on a weekly basis. All right. And if you find you're struggling and keeping track on things, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm here to help you. We can talk about what we can do, how I can help you, what you're struggling with, and I can help you with techniques for how to better manage the material and things like that. So there's just guidelines in here about what are the soft deadlines, what are the hard deadlines. Remember, there is no soft deadline for Module 6 because everything has to be completed in that final week. And it says the quizzes are listed with the hard deadline here. The soft deadline is the week before. If you complete the quiz in the grace period, which means after the deadline, right? In that grace period, it will show up as a 0 until I have a chance to review it and grade it. So don't panic. You'll see a 0 after you complete it, but that's because it's been flagged for me to look at because you've done it after the due date. And the discussion boards are due on June 2nd and June 9th. There's no soft and hard deadline. I mean, certainly you can get it done earlier if you want to, but it is tracked to certain material and when you should be completing certain material. So I definitely don't want anybody, doing it week 1 or week 2, because you literally won't know how to handle the material because you haven't covered the material yet. So wait till you get the material that you have to read in advance to do that, and then just work it out in the guidelines the way it's set up for you. June 2nd and June 9th is when it's due. All right. So I will scroll down from here, and then the other thing that you're going to see is this folder that says pre-coursework. Post your internet crash plan, and then complete the academic integrity module and upload your certificate. If we click on this, you will see, again, instructions for what you need to do. Here is the link to your internet crash plan. Here's the questions you need to answer. And then here's where you upload your certificate for the academic integrity quiz. And so once you get those done, I have to review the certificate, so it might not happen instantaneously. But then you will see the first module, right? You'll get this little badge that says, congratulations, you finished the pre-work, yay. And that's a way you can keep track, just a visual. And then you'll see this first folder that will say module 1, and it tells you what learning goals we're addressing, what material we'll be covering, and when you need to finish the material by. So you should finish all of module 1 by May 12th, as we discussed with the due date grid. And then this tells you, well, if you don't get it done by then, it is modified self-paced. So you can, you have an extra week to do it on the 19th, so you get the paper done and get the quiz done. So those are the 2 assessments for this class. And then once you finish all that, which I will show you in a second, you'll get another one of those badges that says, congratulations, you finished, and now you can move on. So I'm only going to show you module 1 so you can see how it's all laid out, because it's pretty much the same for all the modules. You'll get an overview video from me that talks about what's going to be done in the module, what materials we're covering, why it matters, how it fits into the big picture. Then you'll have a list of all the readings. This is kind of reading heavy. 7 and 8 are optional. They're interesting, but we don't make them required. You'll see that on the syllabus, so not to worry there. But 1 through 6, we should be reading. Most of them are short Harvard Business Review articles, so they're easily read. I encourage you to do things in the order in which they are in the module. So listen to the video, do your readings, then you can move into your lecture material here. We click on the lectures, and there's a whole bunch of different resources here for you. These are just some fun videos. You're not necessarily you're not necessarily going to have to, dive into these deeply, but it's helpful to be able to listen to the videos and be ready to do that. We have a transcript here for the Jonah Lehrer interview if you're interested in that and just reading it instead. This is just a fun video talking about how the world is changing at a really fast pace. Then here is the first set of videos, lecture videos, Introduction to Decision Making. So this covers all the PowerPoints here and all the different lectures that you need to do. Okay, so that comes down to here, leaders and managers and the decisions that they make. And then we come back up here. And then you'll see individual differences. This gets into a number of the different ways that we differ and how that influences the way that we make decisions, perceptions and individual differences. So how do we perceive things, communication, emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and then demographics and decision-making, and how demographics influence how we make decisions or how we are perceived to make decisions. And then lastly, you'll all have one here on decision-making biases. So this goes into the different decision-making biases that we all are prone to, and understand that from there. So after you see the lecture material, your next item is your quiz. And so if you click on the quiz, this tells you the topics that are covered in it. You click on the quiz, and this tells you how much time you have and how many questions you can expect. And this is probably multiple choice and true false, right? It tells you when it needs to be completed by and when the due date, except, hard deadline is, which here it says it's due on the 12th, but you have until the 19th. Worst case scenario, if you've got issues that have happened in your life that doesn't let you take care of it. So it also tells you when it's due. You can save and resume it later, but that timer is going to continue to tick down. So, unless make sure you can go into this in an undisturbed manner, because even if you exit and then try to go back in, that timer is still counting down and you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. So you hit the begin and that takes you right into the quiz portal there. And then the last thing is the assessment. And every module has an assessment. So we'll click on this. You're going to be doing a simulation from the Harvard course pack. The first thing you need to do is to score your decision-making style inventory assessment. So what is your decision-making style? We need to know that. And so that's one of the first things that we want you to learn about yourself, which is how do I make decisions and what do I do about that? Dr. Sweda, who also teaches this class, created a short little video to tell you how to score it. So that's very helpful. I've actually created a fillable document. So I will probably upload that in here so that you can use the fillable document to just do it in a digital format rather than having to print it out and then make a hard copy use of it. And then here are the guidelines for the assignment. It tells you what you should be doing. It tells you the different steps of the process. And remember, as I said, when you write your papers, you can use step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Like, for example, step 1, you need to do this, try to do the scenarios and try to guess, what are the key decision-making biases that you think you're identifying in the simulation. There are 4 scenarios in the simulation, and we're a very common decision biases that we face when we're faced with a whole bunch of information. So as you get into it and as you finish each section of it where you have to make a bunch of decisions, you'll know, right? You'll know. It's like, oh, so tell me what you would do, and then tell me how you would handle this, and tell me what you want to do it. That's them testing you on the decision-making bias in that sense. I want you to not worry if you fall victim to it. I did. We all do, right? The point is, we're all prone to making biased decisions. Our goal is to make ourselves more aware by doing an assignment like this. So the next time we start to see some things that feel familiar and give us some red flags, we can look at this and go, oh, that's what it is. And so once you do that, I try to identify what those biases are, write them down. And then once you've completed the simulation, you have to ask me for your results because I have the results in the portal and only I can send them to you, unfortunately. This was designed to be an in-class exercise, which was really easy if we're doing it in class, but since we're not, I can't give you your results face-to-face in class. I actually need to send them to you so that you can write on it and reflect on it. And as it says here, make sure you use your APA format for your citations. Then we have a couple of major questions. On which biases were you most vulnerable and why do you think that is? How did you work to guard against biases? So I want you to be thinking about that. There's some articles for you to read. So now I want you to be thinking about, so how did I use that information that I learned in those readings to help me to not fall victim to the bias? Or how I can make sure in the future I don't engage in those biases. So how can we guard against letting bias impact our decision in real life? And then lastly, I want you to look at what your decision-making style is and talk about how you think that might have made you vulnerable to some of those decision-making biases. For example, if you're a directive decision maker where you make really quick decisions, you may have fallen victim to confirmation bias or anchoring bias or sunk cost biases or things like that, whatever happened to be in the simulation. And so talk about how the downside of your decision-making style preference may have led you to certain types of decision biases. And the goal of that is for you to recognize, well, since I'm prone to this, I should be more mindful of using different decision-making styles and not using it unconscionally or unintentionally. When we use decision-making styles to help us guide to make decisions individually or in a group, we should be very intentional about which one we use because we need a different style for different contexts and for different situations. And so when we do that and we're intentional about it, it really makes a big difference that we are less likely to fall victim to those biases simply because of our decision-making style. And then what you will do once you've answered all these questions, you've written it up in your little paper. And again, you can use an enumerated list. It's not a problem. You can click on here, assignment number 1, OB simulation, decision in a crisis. You click on this and you upload it into Blackboard, although you will not see this. This is just my portal here, which is not going to help you at all. So let me just delete that, get back out of here. But you will be able to click on this and that gets you into where you need to be. So that's what you can expect in this module for all of the things that you need to do. So remember here, we have the intro video, we've got our readings, We've got the lectures, the quiz, and the assessment. And then here's your summary. So what this is telling you at the end, in order for you to move on to the next module, here's the things that you need to do. You need to mark reviewed for the folder. You need to have completed your attempt on quiz 1. You have to have a submission for the OB simulation paper. And then once you have done those things, module 2 automatically opens for you. I don't have to approve anything. It just auto releases. So you can move on from there. And so you'll have this for every module. And once you complete module 1, you can launch into module 2. Like, let's say you get it done by Thursday, if you're lucky enough. Some people have been able to do that. They get in, they get it done, and then they can move on to the next assignment. And you can launch right into module 2. So you get to work at the pace that works best for you. If you want to get it done sooner, or you want to anticipate you're going to be traveling in a couple of weeks and you want to get ahead of things, you can do that. We also, as I say, give you a little bit of a grace period. So in case an emergency pops up, you can then use that grace period to help you out. But the goal here is not for you to work in that grace period the whole time, because if you do that, you will fall egregiously behind and you will never be able to finish the last assignments in the final weeks of the class. So be careful of that. All right. I don't think there's anything else to talk about here other than, let me just show you discussion boards. You'll all see a link to whatever team you're assigned to once I do that. I won't do that till towards the end of the first week, because I want you to get settled and get people settled in class and into the routine of looking around and getting the material handled. So I'm not going to worry about assigning you into groups until towards the end of the first week, if not the very beginning of the second week. You'll go in there and you'll click on it and you'll see some options, but the one that you pay attention to, your names will be here, who's on your team with you. You have a file exchange opportunity. You have a place where you can load in group tasks for people to handle. You can send emails to your group, but I don't really like that option that much. It's there for you to use, but you're better off just exchanging emails with each other. And then click on the thing that says group discussion board. You click on that, and that brings you into all the assignments. So your first discussion board link here is your group 1 is an ungraded forum. This is where you get to have a conversation with your team. You can share information. You can edit and talk about your assignment and how you want to handle answering the questions, critique each other. These are supposed to be collaborative experiences. So it's incredibly important that you make sure you are collaborating on the work and not just saying, all right, Robin, you do this assignment and I'll do the next one. And you don't hold each other accountable, because if that person gets it wrong, the whole team is going to suffer for it. So you all need to weigh in. You all need to be open to critique from your team members that says, this is how this answer could be improved, and go from there. So you got to set aside your egos here when you're working collaboratively to make sure that you're addressing all the things that need to be done. And then what you'll see here, and I haven't updated the dates yet on this yet, but you'll see you get the first discussion board. Here's the assignment here, and then it'll tell you when it's due. And then here's all the questions. You've got, 4 basic questions that you need to address here. The second discussion board, will open a little bit later. It'll open in a pattern, and it's the same thing. It's the ethical assignment, whatever the assignment is, when it's due, and then all the things that you need to do to complete that assignment. So that should do it. All right. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me or put it in the questions and concerns box. And I look forward to having class with you. It's just going to be a great time. Thanks and take care.